Let's unpack this. Tell me if this sounds painfully familiar. It's maybe 11 o'clock at night. You're on the couch and you are just physically and emotionally wiped. Maybe work was a lot, or you had a small argument earlier and you're just, aimlessly and dangerously scrolling on your phone. And then right on cue, the marketing machine hooks you. You see the perfect thing, and of course it's on sale. 40% off. The caption is screaming, "Last chance," or "Only 2 left in your size." And right away, your brain, which is just desperate for a little hit of relief, starts that internal monologue. "I deserve something nice. Today really sucked. This will make me feel better just for a little bit." So you add it to your cart. Then inevitably you realize you're just, $15 shy of free shipping? And that logic trap, it just seals the deal. You add something else, spending way more than you ever intended, all to get that fleeting sense of completion. The moment of the purchase gives you that little buzz, right? But then the next morning, when you see that confirmation email, that familiar sinking feeling just hits you right in the gut. That shame, that little inner voice whispering, "Why did I buy that? What is wrong with me? I said I wasn't going to do this again."
What is wrong with you? Okay, let me stop you right there.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. You are not broken. And that exact experience you just walked through, that is not a moral failing. It is a deeply human, very common neurological pattern. What you experienced was a money trigger.
A money trigger?
Yes. It's your nervous system trying to use a credit card to quickly resolve an emotional state like stress or loneliness. That behavior is simply a learned coping mechanism that's, believe it or not, trying to keep you safe.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. I'm really happy you're joining us today because this is one of those crucial topics where, the spreadsheets and the balance sheets just crash right into the human heart. Our mission today is a rigorous deep dive into money triggers, emotions that make you spend and how to beat them. And if you have ever felt that cycle of promise, then relapse, then shame, if you've ever said, "I swear I'm going to stop," and then you find yourself doing it again, this deep dive is, it's customized for you. Our goal here is zero shame. We are not here to call you bad with money. We're here to act as detectives, really, to understand the specific, predictable pattern that is actually running inside your brain and your body when you spend automatically. Because once we help you identify the precise situation and the precise emotion that creates that vulnerability, you gain the power to interrupt it and change the pattern for good.
And that transformation, that shift from self-judgment to just curiosity, that is everything. The biggest hurdle I see in my practice is that everyone assumes they're the only person who does the 11 p.m. cart fill.
Yeah.
They carry this immense debt shame, and they think their impulsivity is unique to them.
It's so true. The isolation makes it feel so much worse.
It does. But as soon as we look at the data, the time of day, the feeling state, the patterns just emerge, and that sense of isolation dissolves. So today, we are going to provide systems to help you design your environment to support your goals, rather than relying on an infinite and frankly, completely imaginary supply of willpower.
Okay, let's start with a clear clinical foundation then. When we use this term money trigger, we want to make sure we understand the precise mechanism at play. What is the fundamental definition we're working with here?
First thing, we need to de-dramatize the term instantly. A money trigger is simply a combination of a situation and a corresponding emotion that creates a window of vulnerability.
A vulnerability window. I like that phrasing.
Yes, and in that window, your brain runs an automatic script. It's a script that links spending money to temporary relief. It's an immediate, almost unconscious response to an uncomfortable state. It's so important to understand this two-part definition. The situation is the context, where you are, who you're with, what time of day it is. The emotion is the fuel. It's what you are trying to change or, more often, escape from. Without that right combination, the purchase often doesn't even happen.
So it's not just, for example, that I saw an advertisement for a sale. That's just a passive event.
Correct. Seeing an ad on its own is pretty low risk. That might just spark a passing thought, "Oh, that looks nice." But the trigger happens when that ad appears while you are actively in an emotionally dysregulated state.
Okay, so give me an example of that.
Okay, so imagine seeing a jacket on a calm Saturday morning. You've had plenty of sleep, you feel organized, the day is ahead of you, you see the ad, probably no problem, right? You might just scroll past it. Now imagine seeing that exact same jacket on a Thursday night. You're exhausted, you're feeling unappreciated by your boss or your family, and you're just running on cortisol. That hits completely differently.
Because the brain sees the purchase as a solution.
Precisely. Your brain views that purchase as a means to restore equilibrium, to get a little bit of control back, to feel better right now. The context and the emotion are the two keys that unlock the spending.
This is where the detective work really begins for you, the listener. So what are the major categories of emotional states that turn these, passing interests into these really destructive spending patterns?
In clinical settings, we generally see 6 major drivers that consistently lead to this kind of impulse spending.
Okay, let's walk through them.
Number 1 is stress and overwhelm. This is the classic, the most immediate response. It's using money as a quick release valve when your nervous system is just buzzing too loudly.
Right in there.
Number 2 is boredom and scrolling. And this is a sneaky one. It's seeking stimulation and novelty because the brain just doesn't like sitting still. Spending becomes a form of entertainment. Number 3 is loneliness and connection. And this is a deeply human need. It's spending to feel closer to other people or to kind of secure a feeling of belonging.
And what's number 4?
Number 4 is comparison, which is, as you can imagine, massively intensified by the highly edited realities we see all over social media. It triggers that constant feeling of being behind.
Oh, that's a big one, the behind feeling.
Huge. And number 5 is guilt and shame. This is the really destructive, I already messed up, so what's the point in stopping now? Feeling. It creates a spiral. And finally, number 6, we have the external triggers. The persistent marketing messages, the sales, the scarcity warnings like only 2 left, or the urgency prompts that are literally designed to short-circuit any rational thought process you might have.
So just to be crystal clear, the goal for us today isn't to judge the purchase itself, the jacket, the takeout, whatever it is, but to identify the feeling that purchase was trying to medicate.
That's it, exactly. The object is just the vehicle. We are focused entirely on the emotional terrain and how we can respond to that underlying need in a way that doesn't create financial anxiety for you down the road.
Okay, let's delve into those top 3 emotional drivers, starting with stress spending. Because for so many people, especially high-performing professionals, stress is just the daily background noise, which means they're constantly vulnerable.
Stress spending is incredibly powerful because it's not just a bad habit. It leverages a biological response. When you're stressed, your body releases cortisol and adrenaline. Your nervous system is on high alert and it is demanding immediate resolution. And money, particularly the act of acquiring something, delivers an incredibly fast, accessible, and guaranteed hit of dopamine.
It's like a chemical solution.
It is. The mechanism is sneaky. The dopamine surge you get from ordering that pizza or clicking buy now acts as a counter signal to the stress chemicals. So for a few minutes, you feel a sense of control, you feel a sense of pleasure, which provides that immediate but very temporary relief from that buzzing nervous system.
And this is where we need to introduce a really key psychological insight, which I know our listeners will find fascinating. It's the distinction between anticipation dopamine and fulfillment dopamine.
This is critical to understand. Often, the brain gets the biggest dopamine surge, not when the package actually arrives at your door. No. But in the anticipation, the browsing, the comparing different options, the adding to cart, and the final act of clicking buy, that seeking phase is intensely rewarding. The actual fulfillment, unboxing the item, that often delivers a much smaller, shorter spike of pleasure. So the spending behavior becomes self-perpetuating because the reward is loaded into the act of trying to solve the problem, not the solution itself.
So you get addicted to the hunt, not the prize.
You've got it. And that leads to the inevitable trap, which is the creation of a stress loop.
Explain that, Luke.
Okay, so you use the spending to alleviate the stress of work or family or just general life chaos. Then, 3 weeks later, the credit card bill arrives, and that generates new financial stress. Now you have a double layer. You still have the original anxiety, plus this new self-inflicted financial anxiety. The same relief-seeking behavior that helped you in the short term has dramatically raised your overall long-term anxiety levels.
Wow. Okay, moving on to boredom and scrolling spending. You said this is sneaky. Why? Is it because the person might not be in an overtly bad mood, just a sort of low stimulation mood?
That's exactly it. The human brain is essentially a prediction machine that craves novelty and information. When we are bored, we are in a state of low-grade seeking behavior. Sitting still or truly being present is often cognitively challenging. It's hard work. So the thumb just starts scrolling, looking for a quick hit of stimulation, a distraction from that understimulated state.
And shopping is the perfect form of entertainment for a bored brain.
It's perfect. It involves analysis. Which version should I get? Should I get the blue one or the red one? It involves projection. How will I feel when I wear this? What will my life be like? And a sense of progression, adding to cart, checking out. This entire sequence keeps the mind occupied. So you're not really buying the thing. You're buying the hour of distraction and the imagined future identity that comes with it.
Right, you're buying the fantasy of a new you. The problem, of course, is that the cognitive relief of that distraction it's so transient.
It's completely transient. The boredom that drove the purchase, it returns tomorrow, or maybe the day after. But the financial obligation, that charge on your card, that remains. We've essentially traded long-term security for very short-term mental stimulation. The takeaway here is to recognize that when you're bored, your brain is demanding a task, not an object.
That is a powerful distinction. And finally, let's explore loneliness and connection spending. You said this often taps into deeper, almost evolutionary wiring.
It does. This is a profoundly tender and powerful trigger. Historically, belonging to a tribe or a group was absolutely essential for survival. When we feel lonely or disconnected, our brain registers a threat, a lack of security. So spending becomes an attempt to shortcut our way back into the tribe or to buy tangible evidence of affection.
So how does this actually show up in everyday life?
Well, it manifests in several common ways. For some, it's buying very expensive gifts for friends or family, maybe over-tipping or constantly being the one to pick up the tab. You're trying to secure affection or acceptance through generosity. For others, it's the fear of exclusion. That leads them to say yes to every expensive social invitation dinners, destination weddings, parties, because they fear that declining means they'll be cut out of the social circle. The anxiety of saying no is more painful in that moment than the anxiety of the future debt.
And in the modern world, this is just inextricably tied to status items, isn't it? The desire to own the right car, the right designer bag, or the latest gadget becomes this powerful, albeit totally false signal of tribal acceptance.
Precisely. Status spending is a shortcut to belonging. We think, if I have this item, people will see me as successful and therefore I will belong. The tragedy is that while the item might offer a momentary feeling of validation, maybe a few likes on a post, it doesn't resolve the underlying deep-seated need for genuine, intimate human connection. And that, of course, is free of charge. You can't buy true belonging.
Let's shift our attention now to comparison. I mean, we live in a world where we are just constantly exposed to these unattainable standards. It makes us a perpetually running money trigger for so many of us.
Social media is the engine that drives modern comparison spending. It's on a scale we've never seen before. We are not comparing ourselves to the neighbor down the street anymore. We are comparing our behind-the-scenes reality, the messy kitchen, the rising debt, the anxiety, to a global highlight reel that is curated, filtered, and often completely financially unsustainable.
And this creates that intense feeling of being perpetually behind. That's the word you used earlier, and it's perfect.
Yes. We see the highlight, the expensive vacation, the perfect home renovation, the effortless wardrobe, and we don't see the 5-figure credit card debt, the fights behind the scenes, or the crushing anxiety that was used to sustain that image. The result is frantic spending. It's a financial sprint to catch up to an image that, more often than not, isn't even real.
It's the feeling that if I just buy that one thing, the gap between my reality and my curated feed will finally close, and I can finally feel secure.
And that security is entirely fleeting. You buy the item, you get that momentary hit, and then the algorithm shows you the next, even more expensive item that you now need to catch up to. The comparison game is unwinnable by its very design.
Okay, now let's talk about that really destructive internal trigger. Shame. You call this the screw it spiral. How does one minor financial mishap lead to a full-blown spending spree?
This all relates to something called self-regulation failure. And shame is the key differentiator here. When a person makes a mistake, they overspend by $20 on groceries, they buy one item they regret. Instead of pausing and course-correcting, they apply this intense self-judgment.
So they turn a small mistake into evidence of a huge personal flaw.
Yes. And shame is a powerful, painful, emotional state that demands numbing. The inner voice says, "You're a failure, you ruined the budget." And the immediate psychological response is to seek escape from that pain. This leads directly to the screw it moment, where they rationalize even more destructive spending. I already broke the diet with one cookie, so I might as well eat the whole pizza. I already spent $50 impulsively, so what's the difference if I spend $500 more? I've already failed this month.
It's a coping mechanism for the feeling of being a failure, but it paradoxically just deepens the failure.
Exactly. Shame traps you in the very behavior you're trying to stop. Because the feeling of shame is so intense, the only immediate relief is often another numbing behavior. More spending, overeating, drinking. The true path out is self-kindness, which allows for curiosity and course correction, but shame prevents that introspection. It keeps you stuck.
Okay, before we move into the solutions, I really want us to address a critical psychological concept. You say that willpower is basically a myth in this context, but so many listeners, myself included, were raised on the idea that they just need to be more disciplined. Why is relying on willpower setting us up for guaranteed failure?
We really need to acknowledge the science of cognitive load. Willpower is not an infinite moral resource. It is a finite mental muscle. It gets tired. Every single decision you make throughout the day, what to wear, what to eat, which email to prioritize, how to respond to a stressful text, it depletes that reservoir. This is what we call decision fatigue.
So by the end of the day, you're literally out of good decisions.
You are. If you are stressed, if you're sleep deprived or emotionally drained, your willpower muscle is exhausted. Planning to resist a 40% off sale at 11 p.m. using only willpower is. It's planning for the strongest, most rested version of yourself, which simply does not exist at that time.
It's the reason why some highly productive people, like certain CEOs, they adopt simplified routines, right? They wear the same outfit or eat the same lunch every day. They're conserving their limited decision-making capacity for the big strategic choices.
That's precisely it. They are intentionally reducing cognitive load on trivial matters so that the muscle is fresh for the things that actually matter. If your financial strategy relies solely on you saying no dozens of times a day, particularly when you're facing your personalized stress triggers, that strategy will fail. It's just a matter of time. The sustainable alternative is to understand the pattern, change the environment, and automate the pause. We want to help you design a financial life that accommodates the real, tired, decision-fatigued you, not some fantasy version of yourself.
That reframe is so essential. So we're moving from that crippling question, what is wrong with me, to the productive question, when am I vulnerable? So where do we start the detective work to identify these specific windows of vulnerability?
The mindset shift is the most crucial first step. You are a researcher, not a judge. The goal is simply to collect objective data on the context of your impulsive decisions. No emotion, just data. And we make this process simple and actionable. For the next week or two, every time you make a purchase that feels impulsive or slightly regretted or just outside of your financial plan, you stop and you ask the 4 detective questions.
Okay, lay out the questions for us again.
They are when, where, what, and most importantly, how did I feel?
Okay, let's break those down. When?
When is the timing? Was it late at night? Early in the morning? Immediately after a really stressful meeting with your boss? Was it right on payday? Or maybe on Sunday afternoons when the pressure of the week ahead starts mounting? We're looking for those temporal patterns.
I mean, where? What does that mean?
Where's the environment? Were you at home on the couch with the TV on at your work desk during a break? Were you on a specific high-risk app or website that you know gets you every single time? Were you physically in a mall, or were you mentally browsing a catalog that came in the mail?
And what? That's the item and payment method.
Yes. Was it fast fashion, takeout, a new gadget, an upgrade, or a ticket to an event? And how did you pay? Was it easy with a saved card, or did you have to consciously get up and retrieve your wallet?
And the final, most crucial piece, how did I feel?
This is the core of it. You have to try and pinpoint the core emotion you were trying to fix or escape from. Were you stressed, anxious, bored, jealous, lonely, numb, or maybe even overly excited and celebratory?
The power here is that you're externalizing the problem. You're not saying, I have no discipline. You're charting the specific conditions that create the spending event. It's like a science experiment.
Exactly. When you look back and see your notes, Tuesday, 9:30 p.m. on my phone, bought clothes, felt exhausted and resentful. You see that the problem isn't I am bad with money. The problem is I use online shopping to cope with exhaustion and resentment on Tuesday nights. That transforms this vague feeling of failure into a precise behavioral vulnerability that can actually be addressed with a targeted intervention.
So once those patterns are identified, for example, knowing that Friday afternoon stress triggers impulse takeout orders, we need interruption strategies. And your core advice is putting a pause between the feeling and the purchase.
That pause is everything. Emotional waves, whether they're stress or boredom or excitement, they're intense, but they are also temporary. They pass. If we can introduce even a small amount of space and time, the intensity drops, and the prefrontal cortex, the rational planning part of the brain, can re-engage. The goal is to get you to conscious, deliberate spending, not reactive, triggered spending.
I want to challenge the common emotional trap right here, though. If I'm stressed, my brain immediately says, I deserve this. This is self-care. How do we counter that really powerful internal justification?
That I deserve this narrative is precisely why we need a mental check-in, one that redirects the emotional question toward logic in your long-term well-being. That's why I recommend the 3-question check-in.
Okay, what are the 3 questions?
1. How am I feeling right now? You have to name the emotion, be specific. I'm feeling stressed and deprived. 2. Will this purchase actually help with that feeling in a lasting way? And you have to be ruthless in your honesty here. No, the purchase will distract me for 30 minutes, but it won't resolve the deprivation or the stress. And 3, will I still be glad I bought this next week, and does it align with my real priorities? This forces a conversation between your impulsive self right now and your future self.
I see. By switching from do I deserve it to will this truly help, you're moving the discussion from emotional justification to behavioral effectiveness.
Precisely. If the answers are stressed, no, it won't last, and probably not, the momentum of the impulse is severely broken.
Okay, let's get really tactical with the specific pause rules. How do we implement this based on the cost of the item?
We use the pause rule that's appropriate for the potential damage of the purchase.
Makes sense.
The 1-hour pause is for low to medium risk items, anything under, say, $75, where the cost isn't budget breaking, but the impulsivity is the problem. You tell yourself, I am allowed to buy this, but I must first wait 1 full hour. You put it in the cart, set a timer on your phone, and physically get up and walk away from the device. In that hour, the dopamine peak that was triggered by the anticipation has subsided, and honestly, often the desire simply evaporates.
What about for bigger things?
That's the 24-hour pause. This is essential for all big, non-urgent items. Electronics, expensive clothing, furniture, travel tickets. The rule is absolute. Never buy the same day you see it. Save the link, save the item, put a reminder in your calendar for 24 hours later. When you check in the next day, you're making a decision from a place of cognitive clarity, not emotional heat.
And let's just revisit the payday rule, because that euphoria trigger is a massive, massive vulnerability for so many people.
The payday rule directly combats that I am rich temporary delusion that we all get. For 24 to 48 hours after your salary hits your account, your brain's scarcity alarm turns off and your impulse control is severely weakened. The rule is to firewall that time. Payday should be reserved only for mandatory actions: paying your bills, automating your savings transfers, paying down debt. Fun or impulse spending must be deferred for 2 or 3 days until that emotional high calms down and your brain reestablishes the true working budget.
Okay, we've established that willpower is unreliable. The superior strategy is to change the environment so that we don't even need willpower in the first place. This brings us to the brilliant concept of friction. How do we tactically add friction to spending?
Friction is the intentional introduction of effort to disrupt an automatic behavior. Right now, most spending is designed to be completely frictionless. It relies on habit and impulse. We need to reverse that. We want to make automatic spending require cognitive labor.
Okay, so give us some tactical examples. What can you do tonight?
Here are some things you can do right after this. First, remove all of your saved card details from online shopping platforms, from food delivery apps, and even from payment services like PayPal or Apple Pay. If you have to physically get up, retrieve your wallet, walk to your desk, and type in those 16 numbers, you introduce a massive pause point right there.
That alone is huge.
It is. Second, turn off any one-click or instant reorder purchasing settings. Third, physically move those dangerous apps, Amazon, Target, food delivery services, off your home screen. Put them into a folder that requires multiple swipes or scrolls to find. Out of sight, out of mind, and the increased effort to locate them provides a crucial moment to reflect.
I love the idea of just logging out of your high-risk sites, forcing a manual password entry every time. That little inconvenience is often enough to stop the urge cold.
It is. Remember, the brain is fundamentally lazy. If the easiest path is to stop shopping, it will often take it. If the easiest path is one-click checkout, that's what it will do. We are literally changing the path of least resistance. And crucially, turn off all marketing notifications, emails, and app alerts. These are external triggers that are actively seeking you out. We need to silence them completely.
But what if a listener genuinely needs to use, say, a food delivery app once a week for planning purposes? We don't want to encourage perfectionism or an all-or-nothing mindset.
That's a great point, and that's where an implementation intention strategy comes in. Instead of an all-or-nothing ban, you create an if X, then Y rule for yourself. For example, if it is Friday night, which is my trigger zone, then I will use the one delivery app I allow myself, and I will only order from my preset list of affordable options. You are planning the exception in advance, preventing it from being an automatic triggered decision later on.
So we add friction to bad habits. That means we have to do the opposite for good habits. We need to add ease. How do we remove friction from the behaviors we actually want to foster, like saving money or cooking at home?
We want to make our desired behaviors as effortless as possible. You want to save more? Automate the transfer the moment your paycheck hits. Don't even let it be a decision. If checking your accounts causes you anxiety, reduce the friction there. Save your bank login. Make sure your budgeting app is easy to open. When you remove that cognitive load, awareness becomes easier than avoidance.
And for home cooking.
For home cooking, the opposite of the delivery app friction is what I call temptation bundling of home ease. You make the healthy financial choice the easiest choice. Always have a few I'm too exhausted meal ingredients ready to go. Pre-cooked rice, frozen vegetables, canned beans, whatever works for you. The choice for your tired brain should be between a 10-minute easy meal or a 40-minute delivery setup. You've designed ease around the better choice.
This brings us back to the necessity of joy. I mean, if we only talk about rules and pauses and friction, the brain feels deprived, and it will eventually rebel with a huge, expensive emotional splurge. So we need guilt-free fun money.
This is a psychological necessity, not a luxury. If the brain feels it will never experience spontaneity or pleasure or ease, it will absolutely sabotage the system. We have to build in an authorized, controlled outlet for that desire for novelty and pleasure.
So how do you implement that in a practical way?
It requires a strict, specific amount tailored to your budget. Maybe it's $20 a week, maybe it's $100 a month. This is your guilt-free money. You set it aside, perhaps in a separate envelope or a digital account, and you make a psychological contract with yourself. This money is for treats, coffee, small joys, or minor impulses. Once it's gone until the refill.
So the power isn't just in the spending, it's in the controlled limit and the total reduction of guilt.
Correct. When you feel a trigger impulse, you can ask yourself, does this fit within my controlled, guilt-free, fun money envelope? If the answer is yes, you proceed with zero shame. If the answer is no, you defer. This allows the brain to feel satisfied that its needs for pleasure and spontaneity are being met, even if they are tightly regulated. It calms that rebellious part of you down.
Okay, let's pivot to replacement habits. If we successfully interrupt the impulse to shop, we are left with this intense, unresolved emotional energy. The stress, the boredom, the loneliness. What do we do with that energy instead?
Taking away a primary coping mechanism leaves a void. You absolutely must have an accessible, less destructive alternative ready to deploy. These replacements are ways to regulate your nervous system without involving your wallet.
Okay, let's run through the replacements, detailing why they work psychologically. So the trigger is stress after a hard day.
Stress activates adrenaline and cortisol, and that demands a physical release. Replacement: a short, brisk walk. Physical movement literally processes those stress hormones, allowing your body to metabolize the anxiety. Or take a shower or a bath. Changing your skin temperature is a rapid signal to your nervous system that the threat is over. It signals a shift in the environment. Or use a mood dump. Just open a journal or a notes app and vent all the frustration without editing or judging. The goal is to reduce the emotional intensity quickly. Okay, the next trigger: boredom and scrolling. Boredom demands stimulation and novelty. Replacement: introduce low-effort, high-engagement alternatives. Have a pre-made list of boredom busters. Call a specific friend you haven't talked to in a while. Listen to an interesting new podcast. Spend 10 minutes tidying one small, satisfying area like one kitchen drawer. And crucially, replace that shopping app with a positive app on your home screen. A language learning tool, a meditation app, or a game you genuinely enjoy.
And the last one, the trigger of loneliness and connection.
Loneliness requires co-regulation and contact. Replacement: instead of buying status items or gifts, seek non-monetary connection. Send a voice message or a detailed text to a friend saying, "I was just thinking of you, I miss you." Schedule a quick, low-cost video chat. Engage in low-cost community activities, a book club, a public park walking group. If you find yourself impulse buying gifts for others, consciously replace the purchase with a shared piece of content, a meaningful song, a helpful article, or a picture that reminds you of them. You are still providing value and connection, but without a price tag.
These personal triggers, they rarely exist in a vacuum, do they? They often create tremendous conflict in relationships, especially when partners have opposite coping mechanisms under financial stress.
This is where financial psychology really meets marriage counseling. The issue is rarely about the dollar amount. It's about emotional safety and control. When two partners react to stress in opposite ways, they start to perceive each other as threats.
Let's use that classic example you mentioned before of Lauren and David. Lauren's stress spends for comfort, ordering delivery and buying small treats. But David's stress clamps. He becomes obsessive about checking the accounts and shuts down all non-essential spending.
And the clash there is high velocity. Lauren sees David's clamping down as controlling, as stingy, as emotionally cold. David sees Lauren's spending as reckless, careless, and a direct threat to their family's security. They're both just responding to anxiety, but their methods are mutually antagonistic. They trigger each other.
So the crucial first step, then, is to move out of the language of accusation. It's not you always or you never.
Yes, you have to shift from you always spend too much or you never let us have any fun to self-observation. The language must be, I notice that Lauren needs to be able to articulate. I notice that when I feel stressed, I immediately seek comfort through spending because that was a learned coping mechanism from my childhood. And David needs to articulate. I notice that when I feel stressed, I clamp down because my greatest fear is scarcity, and I associate any spending with risk.
So by owning their personal triggers, they can create a shared agreement that validates both of their needs.
Exactly. They might agree to the fun money rule for Lauren, so she can maintain that feeling of comfort and spontaneity in a controlled way. And at the same time, David gets a clear weekly check-in on the budget to satisfy his need for safety and control. It moves from fighting over money to cooperating around anxiety.
This also applies to our external relationships, right? Friends and family who can trigger us into spending to maintain an identity, like being the generous one.
Oh, that identity spending is so costly. We overspend to maintain an identity being liked or needed or generous. The trigger here is the deep fear of rejection if we stop providing financially.
So how do you set boundaries there?
It requires gentleness, firmness, and repetition. You might say, I love catching up with you, but I'm working really hard on a specific savings goal right now. Can we maybe stick to coffee instead of the expensive dinner this time? And if the relationship cools because you stop paying for everything, that provides valuable, albeit painful, information. It tells you that the relationship was perhaps more transactional than you realized.
Let's dedicate some time now to the childhood roots of all this.
Yeah.
If our reactions are outdated code, what are the specific messages we learned and how do they manifest today?
Our financial triggers are so often just echoes of our earliest environment. Let's look at the 3 most common messages I see.
Okay.
First is the scarcity message. We never have enough. This environment is stressful and chaotic. As an adult, this can trigger 2 opposite behaviors. 1, wild spending. Enjoy it now before it's gone. It's a panic response to scarcity. Or 2, extreme hoarding or paranoia about spending. If I spend anything, we will run out. An overwhelming fear of running out.
And the second one?
The second is the status message. Having nice things means you're successful, and we must keep up appearances. This translates directly into comparison and status spending as an adult. The trigger here is any perceived drop in social standing or success. You spend to project an image, regardless of the underlying reality of your bank account.
And the last one is avoidance.
Yes, the avoidance message. We don't talk about money. It's secret and shameful. This creates an adult who avoids all financial review. The trigger here is the very need to check your accounts or discuss debt. That avoidance leads to paralysis, which often manifests as numbing spending like ordering takeout because confronting the budget feels just too scary.
Knowing the root cause doesn't change the past, but it radically reframes the present moment.
It shifts the entire problem. It goes from, I am flawed, to, I learned a survival strategy that no longer serves me. That distance is so empowering. You are no longer defending a character trait. You are simply updating an outdated behavioral script.
That's the perfect concluding thought. Rewriting the script. The inner dialogue we repeat to ourselves matters tremendously for sustainability. So what are the key phrases we need to replace?
We must actively and consciously replace the self-defeating language with new money scripts. And these scripts have to be based on progress, not on perfection.
Give us some examples.
Okay. Old script. I'm terrible with money. I always fail. The new script is, I am learning about money and making better choices step by step. I am a capable learner. Old script. I blew my budget. I'm a complete failure. The new script is, I made a choice that didn't align with my goals. I'm adjusting my plan for next week, and I'm back on track now. And another big one, old script. I'm just not strong enough to resist the urge. The new script is, I am designing my environment so I don't have to rely on willpower. I use systems, not force.
And central to all of this is self-compassion. For listeners who are carrying years and years of debt shame, that shift is probably the hardest step of all.
It is the hardest, but it is the most essential. Shame is a paralyzing force. It makes you hide the problem, avoid the bank statements, and spend to numb the pain. Change requires honesty, and honesty requires self-kindness. Self-compassion is acknowledging the pain of the past. Yes, I made choices that harmed me financially, and I was doing the best I could with the emotional tools I had at the time. I was overwhelmed, I was uninformed, I was lonely, and then affirming your current capability. Now I am consciously seeking new tools, and I deserve to live a financially peaceful life. You are separating your past actions from your core identity.
Okay, let's recap the key takeaways before we give you, our listener, your challenge for the week.
1. Your spending is not random. It follows predictable emotional patterns. 2. You are not bad with money. You are running learned emotional coping mechanisms. 3. Change comes from tiny shifts, the pause, the friction, the replacement habit, not from massive, unsustainable willpower. 4. You must approach this with curiosity and kindness, never with shame. And 5. The goal is always conscious choosing, not joyless restriction.
All right, to wrap up this deep dive, we're giving you one small, doable experiment for the week. We're looking for progress, not perfection, just one instance of conscious interruption. For the next 7 days, I want you to commit to 2 actions. Number 1, notice one trigger. Pinpoint your single biggest vulnerability, late night scrolling, payday euphoria, spending after a fight, and commit to just catching it. When it happens, run the 4 detective questions we talked about. When, where, what, how do I feel? Just collect the data, no judgment. And number 2, add one pause. Choose one of the pause rules, the 1-hour pause, the 24-hour pause, or the payday rule, and apply it just to that specific trigger you identified. Just delay the action for that defined period.
That's your challenge. And the final, most important step, when you successfully interrupt that pattern, even just once, I want you to stop, take a breath, and consciously acknowledge your effort. Say to yourself, I showed up for myself today, or I chose the difficult, better option. That affirmation is what builds the new story of self-reliance.
Thank you so much for guiding us through this really emotional landscape with such detailed clarity and compassion.
Thank you for having me. And to everyone listening, please remember that the way you spend your money is not a verdict on your worth. You are a person with a story, a complex nervous system, and a brain that is just trying to keep you safe. You can honor that system while teaching it new, healthier, and much less expensive ways to cope.
Thank you for spending this time with us on a topic most people hide from. Acknowledging the pattern is the single gravest step you can take toward changing it. I really encourage you to try that experiment this week. I'll see you in the next deep dive.